Last time we looked at SuperGiantGames' artistic video game known as Bastion, which had amazing music, fun hack and slash gameplay, and some gorgeous painted art style and environments. Today we're going to look at the next game that they created, Transistor. I have some history with this game as well as Bastion. When I was in college, the trailers for Transistor were coming out and I remember watching it in the middle of class when I should have been working. Oops. And I showed it to my friend who showed me Bastion, and we both got very excited for it, so much so that we rewatched the trailer about 4 times just to listen to the music and see how the gameplay was different. He and I had high expectations for this one, and well, did it turn out as great as we thought it was going to be? Stick around and find out. Our story begins with what looks like a sword inside a man's chest and a woman looking very upset about it. And suddenly the sword begins to talk. This sword is the Transistor, and it has the ability to absorb people's consciousness. But in this situation, it also absorbed the woman's voice, Red's voice. With Transistor in hand, Red starts going on the run, away from all of these evil creatures called the Process. And the only way to truly escape them is to escape from the city of Cloudbank. A little bit into the game though, while riding a motorcycle out of the city, Red changes her mind and wants to seek a way to stop the Process, get her voice back, and get the man inside the Transistor his body back. She finds out that a group of people called the Camerata are the ones who created the Process and the Transistor, which they were going to use to assassinate Red, because she was one of the last living people of Cloudbank. The rest of the people are either dead, have run away, or are part of the Camerata. How will Red ever get through the toughness of the Camerata and the Process? Well, by using the Transistor. The consciousness that it absorbed actually allow it to use abilities that help defeat the Process. At first, Red starts out with some basic stuff like damage at short range, damage at long range, an area of effect attack, and kind of a support skill. But as you level up, she gets the choice to gain a new skill, a new passive slot, upgrade slot, or more memory, and a new limiter. You can choose what you want at pillars called access points. You can also use these points to save your game. Okay, so that was a lot to throw at you and it confused me at first, but bear with me. With gaining a new skill, that's it. Red gains a new skill and you can equip it to X, square, circle, or triangle as a basic attack. But the thing that makes Transistor so unique is that every skill can also be used to upgrade other skills to make them more powerful. Limiters are optional choices like the Shrine in Bastion. They're there to make the game harder for you for a better reward. Memory is what you need to equip your skills. Think of it like ability points in any RPG. Finally, when Red levels up, she can get an upgrade slot to upgrade her skills or a passive slot, which just uses her skills for passive abilities, such as reducing the recharge time to use Turn again. Which reminds me, I haven't spoken about Turn yet. Turn is another thing that makes Transistor what it is. When Red uses it, time freezes and she has a meter at the top that fills up as she performs any action, including moving around. This is where the strategy of the game comes in because Red can use it to get behind enemies for backstab attempts. She can use it to get away from a tough situation. Or she can use it to go get rid of the little enemies that are being a bother while she tries to fight a big bad. The problem with this is that it takes quite a while to recharge, and while it's recharging, she can't use her skills anymore. Except for if you get the passive upgrade that allows certain skills to do so, and Jaunt, the ability that allows you to just kind of do this dash, is by default able to be used during the cooldown. Therefore, it's high risk versus reward, but I think it fits in this game very well. The health works differently too in this game. Instead of dying when your health reaches 0, the game takes away one of your skills at random, and until you run out of all 4, then it's game over. So the game is fairly easy in that regard, but if you're not careful, you could lose all 4 of them very quickly because of how tough some of these enemies can be. You can get these skills back as well by going to at least 2 access points, and it will give you 1 skill back. So this is the way the game will kind of force you to use the other skills, which I think is very clever. Back to the story. The first person you meet that is still alive is Sybil Rise, a spy working for the Camerata, and the reason that they found Red so easily in this bustling city Sybil is the spark that ignited the whole game. She was told to find a high-profile target for assassination, and she became obsessed with Red after seeing one of her concerts. So obsessed, it was an unrequited love, because Red was already in a relationship with the man that got stabbed by the Transistor. After this event happened, the Camerata lost control of the process, and they take over Sybil to the point that when Red meets up with her, she's about 95% process already and has gone crazy. After Red defeats her, Sybil gives her the locations of the rest of the Camerata members, to which she makes her way toward. However, on her way there, she comes across a massive monster called the Spine, and it is the biggest process she has ever come across, and will ever come across. Red knows that she has to destroy it because it's not only a process, but in her way to get to the other members of the Camerata. When she's making her way there, she comes across these terminals, and a man named Asher Kendrell will start to speak to her through the recordings, and he's telling her all about how sorry he is for losing control of the process, and that he regrets everything, to which the Transistor says that he's lying, and so she goes after him only to discover that he and another member, Grant Kendrell, have both committed suicide, just so the process wouldn't get them and so they wouldn't have to deal with the consequences for their mistake. The only member remaining of the Camerata is Royce Brackett, who is all the way back to where Red first began her journey, but now the process have more than taken over. Finding another motorcycle, she makes her way back there and fighting the process along the way. Then Royce starts speaking to Red via robot proxy, and she finds out that he was the engineer for the city of Cloudbank and a lot of the city's structure is thanks to him. However, he used the process to build the city, and when she discovers his lab, he knows that Red must destroy the process using the Transistor and allows her to do so, thus also destroying the city. After the process is destroyed, Royce tells Red that Cloudbank is like a giant blank canvas and the Transistor is like the brush. However, only one person can be the person to do all of this, so he challenges her to a duel to see who will be the true wielder of the Transistor. When Red defeats him, she starts to build up the city, erecting statues and completing bridges, until she reaches the exact area the game began and she paints the man who got stabbed, lays down beside him, and kills herself with the Transistor, so her consciousness can be with the love of her life. I guess it's better to be dead with the person you love most than live life in solitude. The art style is almost the exact same as Bastion, but a little bit better in some parts, worse in others. I'll start with the bad. The environments are just not as memorable as Bastion's, and it all kind of blends together, and I was finding myself turn around a lot and lost for a few minutes before realizing, oh, this is a way I can go. For the good stuff, it's the art style itself. I love the cyberpunk look. I love every character design, including the Transistors, and I love the hand-painted moving images like when Red is riding on the motorcycle overlooking the whole city of Cloudbank. It's so beautiful. Returning for the voice of the Transistor is none other than Logan Cunningham, who provided the voice for Rux from Bastion. However, instead of a soothing, grandfather, gravelly voice, the Transistor has a metallic, echoey, quiet voice, but it's still comforting to hear and nice to listen to. Here's an example of Rux.
Proper story's supposed to start at the beginning. Ain't so simple with this one. Now here's a kid whose whole world got all twisted, leaving him stranded on a rock in the sky.
And now, here's an example of the Transistor.
Hi. You okay? I see. Sure. She wants to come along. We can use her.
That's a great voice actor at work right there. I have a fun fact about the voice of the Transistor, is that if you are playing with a DualShock 4 controller, the light blinks to match what the Transistor is saying, which I always found really cool, even if it is just a little thing. Also returning for her beautiful singing voice for Build That Wall is Ashley Barrett to give us a song that is almost just as good, called We All Become One. Again, you look at the lyrics of the song and it matches the game perfectly, and Ashley does such a wonderful job voicing Red by doing little hums and singing the songs before she got her voice stolen. The OST, or official soundtrack, for Transistor was written and produced by Darren Korb, and apparently was also all recorded in his closet? But I don't know how true that is. Anyway, it's very hard to describe what kind of music this is, so I'll let Darren do it for me. Quote, "Old world electronic post-rock," end quote. And to fit that style of music, he used electric guitars, harps, accordions, mandolins, electric piano, and synth pads. All I'm going to say is that the OST is just as good as Bastion's, and it's not one you should pass up. So, in conclusion, Transistor is a fun, tactical game with some RPG elements such as customization and gaining experience. The story is very well told with keeping all of the secrets until the end. The environments are kind of a mess, but the art style itself is super gorgeous, and the music, like before, is frickin' awesome. The only other complaint I would have is that the game is kind of short, but it's alright because it is still a pleasant experience nonetheless. I hope you all have an amazing day, or night, whenever you're watching, and as always, take care.